U.S. elections. Make us understand that. And then, of course, the U.S.'s position on the elections in Venezuela. But explain to us how the U.S. election systems run, because at the moment, it seems to us, those of us who are not in the United States of America, that there seems to be, on the one hand, some reporting, let's say, from CNN that's painting a particular kind of picture, and then there's Fox News that's painting another kind of picture. Explain to us what's happening.
Absolutely. It's an interesting time to be in the United States, and really to be anywhere around the world. And we, of course, continue to think about all those and think Kitts and Nevis. And as you protect yourselves and stay safe during this global pandemic, it's important to both our countries that we continue to work together to overcome the challenges in front of us. U.S. election, interesting topic, interesting time as we find ourselves between Election Day, which seems a long time ago, but it really was pretty recent, just over a month ago, November 3rd in the United States, and then our Inauguration Day, where the president will be sworn in on January 20th. It surprises many people outside of the United States, and perhaps even some Americans, to realize that on November 3rd, individuals and citizens don't vote directly for the president of the United States. They actually choose electors, members of what we call the Electoral College, which has been part of our Constitution since the founding. And these electors are the individuals who actually vote for President of the United States. So these electors are throughout all 50 states, and there are 3 of them in Washington, D.C., and those are the individuals who choose the president. And so it's actually on Monday, December 14th, where those electors will gather in their respective states, cast their ballots, and then choose the next president of the United States. It is then the next date that's important, January 6th, where Congress will review those votes, certify that election, and then on January 20th, we will have the next president of the United States. And the way it looks right now is that former Vice President Joe Biden has 306 votes, and President Trump has 232. At least those are the projections, and we, of course, will know the final totals as the electors cast their ballots and then as Congress opens them in early January.
Now, we in the Caribbean, we're accustomed to having an election, and then you have the results. Sometimes it may take a day, 2 days. In the case of Guyana, it could take 2 months or more. And then there is a change in government. What's the background to the present system in the U.S. where you have the vote and you have the electors? I think you explained a little bit of it, but what happens if you vote for electors who are expected to reflect your will? What happens if the electors decide that, look, I am the elector, and I'm going to decide who won, not based on what you, not based on the popular vote, because after all, you made me the elector. Explain that to us.
Yeah, that would be a funny situation to be in, right? I'll make my own decision. No, I mean, we actually have a term for that, and we call those individuals faithless electors. It's a pretty harsh term, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there have been isolated incidents of faithless electors over the years, but never in a way that you would say that the Electoral College isn't that you would say that the Electoral College is exercising, an independent judgment, that it's not reflecting the will of those individual states. So, we've had situations recently in 2016, right, where Al Gore won the popular vote or Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and then the Electoral College went a different direction. But the fact is that over 90% of the time, the president who is elected by the Electoral College has also won the popular vote. We will, again, I can't say with the absolute degree of certainty what's going to happen on Monday and what's going to happen in January, but it looks like they will follow that trend again, that the popular vote and the Electoral College will coincide.
Now, how does the allotment work for the Electoral College? Who gets what?
Good question. It's based on population. So the magic number is 538 electors in the Electoral College. And how we get to that number is by adding up the members of Congress. So there are 435 members of Congress that are apportioned based on population in the House of Representatives. And then there's additional 100 senators. And then because of a constitutional amendment and wanting to ensure representation for the District of Columbia, which is the federal city, but kind of the outlier because it's not a state, a constitutional amendment gave Washington, D.C. 3 electors. So we take 435 plus 100 plus 3, and we get to the magic number for the Electoral College of 538 electors. And interestingly, if things go according to the way the media and other organizations have projected it, it looks like Vice President Biden will receive 306 electoral votes, which would be the same amount of electoral votes that President Trump received in 2016.
And President Trump, of course, in my language, is saying cheat. He's saying fraud. He's saying these elections have been rigged for my opponents. We are not conceding. We've heard from the Secretary of State saying that the second term Trump presidency, and we heard the president as well saying that in his second term. So interesting days ahead.
I did see that from our secretary. I did also, I think I spotted a smirk afterwards, but and I don't think those are your words, Clive. I mean, I think when you say fraud, I mean that is a word that has been used by members of the administration. But I think what's important to realize here is that the institutions are working, and that the president has every right to undergo the legal challenges or to perform the legal challenges that he would like to, and those processes will work themselves out. But I do think that as I am, and as the president is sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States, I think we will reach January 20th, and according to the laws and Constitution of the United States, swear in the next president.
Okay, let me ask you this one then. So, the way in which the elections are being covered in the U.S., if what is happening in the U.S. now was happening, let's say, in a South American state or in Central American state, would you have the same kind of coverage, or would it be more vitriolic in terms of the coverage, or is it because it's America that the coverage is so diplomatic, so to speak?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak about hypotheticals, really. I mean, I feel like you're leading me toward what we had talked about would be the second topic of our conversation, and what illegitimate President Maduro called his elections, his legislative elections on December 6th, right? But I mean, the fact is we're having a conversation in the United States, whether it's media or think tanks or the people themselves out protesting, of members of Congress, the president himself. I mean, that conversation is taking place, but the institutions are still at work. That the electors, according to federal law, meet the Monday after the second Wednesday in December in the year of a presidential election. So that's Monday, December, 14th this year. You know, the Electoral College, the Congress, I mean, those systems are all working toward the end goal, which is the constitutional inauguration, of the president. What you see in Venezuela, though, is a system whereby Maduro has decided, we're going to change the electoral timeline. We're going to prevent individuals from participating in these elections, really changing the institution. So what was the last vestige of democratic government in Venezuela, the National Assembly now, has just been run roughshod over by the Maduro administration in this farce of an election last Sunday, December 6th.
Now, as we talk about Venezuela, of course, the official position from Venezuela, and CARICOM, of course, recognizes President Maduro. The claim from that election, the official results suggest 80% of ballots counted. At the time we had the first call, it was 67.6%. Since then, President Maduro has been declared the winner of the elections. We've heard from the opposition calling for boycotts. Some groups did not boycott, but the majority of the groups boycotted. What's next for Venezuela from the perspective of the USA? Are you likely to tighten sanctions? Mr. Guaido suggests he's going to take a particular kind of approach. What is your position on this matter?
The United States continues to support President of Venezuela, President Juan Guaido, and his entire team and the people of Venezuela, so that they can have a free and prosperous and democratic future. I mean, President Guaido's response to the farce and the charade that Maduro held on Sunday is something called the Consulta Popular, that Venezuelans, whether in Venezuela or outside of Venezuela, Venezuelan citizens can participate in this week. So they can actually go to www.consulta por Venezuela, so PORVZLA.com, consultaporvzla.com, and respond to the questions that the Guaido administration has put out in front of the Venezuelan people, because this is the vote that's really going to reflect the view of the people. I think it's interesting to note that in what Maduro called elections last Sunday, the turnout was, by most accounts, below 30%. Whereas when you had National Assembly legislative elections 5 years ago in 2015, it was 70% or more. So no one lined up to vote this time. I would have ventured to guess, having lived in Venezuela, having worked in Venezuela, that the food lines and the fuel lines in Venezuela were longer than the voting and the polling lines last Sunday. And that's the tragedy here with Venezuela, is that when it comes to basic goods and basic services, those aren't available. But what Maduro can make available for his people is a farce of an election that will just consolidate his dictatorial rule over a country that he has destroyed.
Now, come the 5th of January, there's going to be the new lawmakers will be sworn in to be in charge of the National Assembly, which would mean that there's a consolidation of power in the hands of President Maduro. Does this in any way weaken the hand of Guaido in the sense that he's now, well, he's a former head of the National Assembly. Now he doesn't have that position. How do you see it? You keep calling him the president of Venezuela. CARICOM has a different position on the matter. What do you want to say to CARICOM as well?
Well, what we ask of CARICOM is to work with the United States and the nearly 60 countries that recognize the legitimacy of President Guaido because of the stolen election in 2018. And CARICOM member states have a way to do that through the Organization of American States, which I believe it was just yesterday, passed a resolution to condemn and reject the fraudulent elections held on December 6th. So I think that here in the Caribbean, where Grenada, even Barbados, are a short distance away, and St. Kitts and Nevis being at the northern end of the Eastern Caribbean, still a very short distance away from another Caribbean country like Venezuela, the time is now to say enough is enough. That Venezuela and the Venezuelan people deserve better than the system of government and the lack of support and the corruption and the torture that has been outlined by UN report after UN report decreeing what is going on under the Maduro government. And so what we seek is for CARICOM to speak together in one voice and to reject the anti-democratic forces under illegitimate President Maduro and to take a stand on behalf of the people of Venezuela.
And CARICOM's position is that it doesn't interfere in the internal affairs of a sovereign state. How do you respond to that?
Well, I struggle with that because the United States would be accused of that, right? Oh, here we're getting involved in Venezuela's internal affairs, but then I look around at others who really are involved in the internal affairs of Venezuela, countries like Russia or China or Iran or Cuba or Turkey. This is the company that Venezuela keeps, and Russia and Venezuela, for example, have a long-standing financial or political or diplomatic partnership because Russia continues to act as a lender of last resort to help Venezuela circumvent sanctions, to fuel disinformation campaigns, provide military supplies. So if you want to talk about countries that are involved in the domestic affairs of a country, I really think you need to look at countries like Russia or China or Iran, which are propping up the Maduro government, which is only bringing destruction and long lines and struggle for the people of Venezuela.
Well, on the one hand, you have the USA and 50-plus countries saying that, President Guaido. Then you have Russia, China, Iran, Turkey, Cuba saying President Maduro. Now, we who live in the Caribbean, we're accustomed to living in a zone of peace. Should we be concerned about security issues here?
What I think we need to be concerned about is the destabilizing forces of the Maduro regime. That the United States continues to work for peace and humanitarian services in Venezuela. In fact, the United States is the single largest donor of humanitarian assistance to Venezuela and this Venezuelan regional crisis. I think the Secretary recently announced something like $348 million in humanitarian assistance, which brings total assistance to the Venezuelan crisis to more than $1.2 billion in the last 3 years. So the United States is working to be a constructive force to build a prosperous and a democratic Venezuela, and we'll continue to do so. But we see that path forward as being one led by President Juan Guaido, who is really working on behalf of the interests of the Venezuelan people.
Now you have close to 5 million refugees leaving Venezuela, according to some counts. We've had some harrowing stories of some Caribbean countries, at least one in particular, which I will not name, turning back children on vessels because they don't want the Venezuelans to land. And we're quite surprised to see that children and women were turned back and sent back out to sea. Now, the refugee issue is one that concerns us all. Now, in the conversation we're hearing from the United States of America, the blame rests with President Maduro, or I know you don't want to say President Maduro, but it rests on the administration in Venezuela. But on the other hand, supporters of Venezuela are saying that the U.S. sanctions against Venezuela has crippled the economy. How do you explain that to our listeners?
I would explain that the Venezuelan economy has been in an economic tailspin since long before any economic sanctions by the United States started to take effect. And the sanctions that are in place are not sanctions against the Venezuelan people. These are targeted sanctions against individuals in Venezuela who are stealing the resources of that country, who are selling that gold to Turkey, who are trafficking in illicit substances and illegal drugs. Those are the individuals who are being targeted by these sanctions. I mean, the fact is when it comes to economic output and the largest part of Venezuela's economy, obviously oil. I mean, oil production has fallen to something like 400,000 barrels a day, when 7 years ago it used to produce something like 3 million barrels a day. I mean, this economy started to tank long before economic sanctions were put in place because of drops in oil prices, economic mismanagement, and the overwhelming corruption on behalf of the Maduro regime.
What's next for Venezuela from the perspective of the USA? So the elections are over. What is going to happen next, you think?
We will continue to support President Juan Guaido. We support all the actions he takes on behalf of a democratic and prosperous Venezuela. We support the Venezuelan people in responding to his call through this popular consultation or consulta popular, which can be accessed by every Venezuelan citizen at www.consultaporvzla.com. And we will continue to work to restore Venezuela to the community of democracies, which is the overwhelming political system here in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, I want to thank you very much for talking to us this morning. But before we go, we have to go back to your homeland. We have to go back to America. We can't leave without going back to America. We started with America. Now, there are some concerns.
Clive, I haven't been back to America in months. I wish I could go back, but I hope to take advantage of this recent Liat flight and fly from Barbados and come up to St. Kitts.
Well, at the moment, Liat is still trying to get permission to land in Barbados, so I wish you and Liat all the very best in that regard. But speaking about back to the U.S., of course, you have the Electoral College meeting on Monday. You have the Congress date as well. Then you have, of course, what will happen in January. Are there any concerns that there's some people who actually believe that President Trump won the election and that there's widespread fraud, that there may be any armed conflict in the U.S.?
I expect that the United States will have a peaceful transfer of power, as it's had for centuries now. I mean, the president has been very clear as well with the General Services Administration that it needs to do what needs to be done to accomplish a peaceful transition. That's what the president has said, and that's what I expect will happen.
And finally, COVID-19 in the U.S., winter approaches. And, of course, you're hearing now about the vaccine. Any thoughts about winter and the vaccine and COVID-19?
Obviously, there's great hope among the vaccines. You read the news perhaps better than I do, and you see what's happened in England just in the last week. I believe the Food and Drug Administration is actually meeting today to discuss Pfizer's vaccine. And so we look forward to vaccines that will lead us to fight in a better fight against COVID-19 and to make 2021, from a public health perspective, a year much better than the one we've just seen.
All right, we've got to go now, but before we go, we've got to invite you to just leave us with some parting thoughts for our listeners. It was great talking to you. What would you like to leave us as your takeaway, if you like?
Well, I'd simply like to say to all your listeners that in this season of celebration, with Hanukkah that begins today, with Christmas for those who celebrate later this month, that it be a season of joy, that it be a season of of celebration, despite the challenges that we face, that we might continue to stand together for all the good things that we celebrate this time of year, and wishing all the families there in St. Kitts and yours, Clive, the very best this season.
And of course, we'd like to offer many happy returns, and of course, wish you and the team at the U.S. Embassy in Bridgetown, Barbados all the very best indeed. Good talking to you, and all the best indeed. Do take care.
Thanks, Clive. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You tune to Win FM is 90.9 on your dial, and today's program comes to you compliments Rams Trading, Flow, and TDC. We had our conversation just moments ago with Mr. Larry Socha, Public Affairs Officer of the U.S. Embassy, Bridgetown, Barbados, responsibility for Barbados in the Eastern Caribbean. Always a pleasure. And we're going to try to see if we can get an interview as well. You know, we're going to try to get an interview with a Venezuelan official as well as soon as we can. To get that perspective as well. We try to bring you all the perspectives so you have a sense to make up your mind with informed, to be able to have informed opinions, and of course to weigh in as you see things, of course, and Voices provides a platform where you have a chance to do just that. We're going to hear from our partners, and then Devon Browne will pick up the action right here on Win FM 98.9.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas from Ram. This Christmas at Ram Supermarket is free. This December, shop all Ram Supermarkets and take advantage of all the in-store specials and free giveaways. Celebrate Christmas with Rams, where you're guaranteed better prices, better quality, and better value for your money. Happy holidays from Rams, the good food people.
Terms and conditions apply. See in stores for details.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
TDC Home and Building Depots beat the rush sale.
We've got the road.
This holiday season, beat the rush. Shop early at the TDC Home and Building Depots. This is your time to get everything you need with an in-store 25% discount. You can't miss this sale. So beat the rush, avoid the hassle, and go to TDC Home and Building Depots this weekend to shop and save. TDC is Christmas. Something given. Terms and conditions apply.
We've got the road.
Good morning, radio listeners, and welcome back to Voices. You were just listening to an interview with Clive Backus and Larry Socha, Public Affairs Officer of Bridgetown, Barbados, talking about the Venezuela and the U.S. elections. We have a caller. Caller, you're live on Voices. Caller, you're live on Voices. Good morning.
Good morning, and how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm here giving God thanks, and I'm here smiling to myself.
Oh.
I'm wondering, what does the word democracy mean?
Well, how about you tell us? What does the word democracy mean to you?
Trump up there say he won. He won. So all he needs now is for his put soldiers to overthrow. Because if he won, and Biden won, then who won? You understand? They are going out and trying to impose democracy, they say, on people's country when they don't have it. They won with the most noise. And if the opposition decided to boycott, they decided to boycott, you know. At least Van Guaido and some. because some of them actually participated. If he was, why didn't he run? You see, he has now become. I don't support oppressing people. Certain tenets of socialism I don't support. But I don't support this underhand overthrowing of people's government. And the last person to instigate all of these things is America. And then his suggestion that the CARICOM should join with the OAS. That is the reason why I think it was last week the Prime Minister of Trinidad had to put the Secretary General of OAS in his place. And we're warning our Foreign Affairs Minister and our government, don't allow yourself to be cowered into falling in line. Because today for Maduro, tomorrow for you. And then to suggest that they are not the ones who have brought on the hardship on Venezuela is hypocritical, very hypocritical. Anybody with any common sense, maybe he doesn't equate common sense with CARICOM, maybe they have the same colonial, imperialistic mentality about people in the Caribbean. That somehow we're backward and we can't think for ourselves. Well, we're way past that now, They've tried everything. They're now gone into Guyana. They're going into other countries, practically threatening them. And the OAS, America has used every instrument trying to subvert our countries. And the gentleman, the public affairs person, he did a good job for his country. That is what we want our people to do. CARICOM must have people that speak up. And I'm glad for the Prime Minister of Barbados, I should tell them Barbados had democracy before America. So we know what democracy look like. They have a history. They have gone into Venezuela and the other countries before. And what have they done? They're going and they say they're coming in the name of the form of direct capital investment and take over everything. And the people in the country are no better off. They are the ones who breed socialists, They are the ones who breed it. I was listening the other day to, I think it was Nigeria, this thing we're talking about it. They are breeding socialism when the ordinary people look around and see that these resources are ours. And we are not benefiting. They breed resentment. And sometimes when we are clamoring or we want direct investment, the younger people going to wake up one day and say, well, what do we own here? What do we own here? We only born here? So nobody blind about Venezuela. They have ruined Venezuela. They go and they increase oil production, got to Saudi Arabia, increase output, push down the price, where it Trinidad and all affected. Even Guyana, who discovered oil the other day. Some of these movements are deliberate. You push down the oil, so it's like Guyana has to give away the oil now, while they hold the franchise. And whenever you step up and say, well, what is in it for Guyanese? They begin to threaten to pull out, threaten not to be able to sell your goods. So we have an educated bunch around here, mister. Maybe a long time ago you could have spin and twist our leaders. But even if you manage to spin and twist them, there are people in the country who are aware. And what you have done to Venezuela is unjust. And to be out there promoting Van Guaido. Well, suppose somebody begin to promote Trump outside of America. And do to America what you all have done to Cuba and Venezuela. What would you say? So I hope he's listening. Because you cannot with a just conscience say, and then say, America is giving the biggest aid to Venezuela. Not in Venezuela, in Colombia, and so where you have them, You have pushed the people out. You have, between you and Maduro, the two of you, pushed the people out. The same thing you're doing to Cuba. America has no heart, you know. No love for people. While you may have a principle, you have no love for people. You will put on sanctions that will drive people to eat people. And then you sit back and wait for a revolt. They keep overthrowing governments, and when the one they put in gets settled, then they have another job to take them out. When is Trump going to concede? That is what he's supposed to tell us, you know. Imagine the most democratic country. Election gone. Trump go to the Supreme Court, they say, Biden win. Oh, I won. You don't think people in Venezuela and Cuba are asking, well, is that democracy? Is that the kind of democracy we want? They got to clean up their own backyard. Because we don't want that. We had that kind of democracy in 1993, you know. And all we got was bottle and stone and everything. They mash up the whole of Bastille. Create chaos. Because who win said they win. So you have your leader now, Trump. That is the worst example of democratic. I mean, he lose, concede. All right then.
Thank you very much, caller. We have another caller. Caller 11 Voices. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Cornelius.
It's Mr. Browne this morning.
Oh, Mr. Browne.
Yes.
I'm very sorry. Yes, sorry about that. I didn't hear the program from the beginning, but it's always interesting to hear diplomats with their double speak, so to speak. Okay? It's just another way of them being able to say that black is white or vice versa, and what is reasonable is really unreasonable. Okay? I don't know if Mr. Backus asked him if what he expects to be a change in U.S. policy once President Biden has been inaugurated. Did he mention that?
I am uncertain. I wasn't there at the beginning of the program either.
Okay, all right. Because, usually these, unless they're a career State Department diplomat, the key people at the embassies normally change with change of administration. And so I just wondered if the policy towards Venezuela, the policy towards Cuba, and the policy to the Caribbean in general was about to be at least reassessed and changed. Okay, Mr. Backus, being the usual consummate diplomat himself, basically made sure that his questions were worded so as not to bruise any egos. The thing is, even though Maduro needs to go because of what has been inflicted on his people, the opposition is no better. They're colluding with essentially Venezuelan enemies just to gain power. And I consider that unpatriotic. And finally, Mrs. Henry again decried foreign direct investment. I think mainly because the party she supports has been unable to attract it. Okay? That's one of the failures of the administration. There are no major new projects funded by foreign direct investment. But my question to her, and I hope she calls back, what would you replace it with? You don't take bread out of people's mouths if you can't give them biscuit. So let's hear an alternative path to development. Show us an example of what's an alternative to the path, even the current government, because the economic policy and the policy towards foreign direct investment has not changed, right? Show us an example of a different path towards development that can afford the people, our people, with the high standard of living that we've become accustomed to. It's easy to say. We may wake up one day and wonder what we own. But right now, for instance, we own all this land, and it's in kosher and wild tamarind. Okay? What is the point? Don't you think we need some kind of development of these lands, whether for agriculture or whatever else? The fact is, it has not happened. For years, it has not happened. But we've managed to do well with the current path towards development that we have. And so if you're going to throw that out the window, if you're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, what will you replace it with? So she's an economist, I think, and a statistician, and whatever else she is supposed to be. Let's hear her view on how she sees the country, what path to development we should pursue. That's my question. All right, then.
Thank you, caller, for your contribution. We have another caller, caller 11 Voices. We lost that caller. Caller, please call back when you have the chance. Caller 11 Voices.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
And I want to agree with Henry with something he said that America needs to clean up its own backyard first. And I agree with that because the millions of dollars that America does send out of the country to all over the place, so they can take that money and take care of the taxpayers, take care of the people in the country. There's homeless people on the street, people who went and fighting war and they're sleeping on the bridge. So yes, they need to clean up the backyard first. The aid what they send all over, the people here in America need aid. The medical system, the money what they take and send all over, fix the medical system for the citizens, the people of America, the taxpayers of America. That's what they need to do. Clean up their own backyard first. Take care of their own people first before you want to take care of everybody else. Stop sending taxpayer money all over the place. Because in America, it's not nice. A lot of people don't like America, but their hand always open to America. And this thing about Trump, people right now, y'all should learn that Trump just to talk. Trump loves to talk. He loves to spit a finger, and he got the attention of people. When January come in and it's time for Trump to go, Trump going to vacate that White House so quietly. Y'all don't want to know, was that the same Trump? He just loves to talk and y'all feeding off of it. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, caller, for your contribution. We have another caller, caller 11 Voices.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I wish to make my contribution today.
Go right ahead.
Let me say good morning to Irving Henry, my inspiration. I thought that. Yes, in the same trend, I wish to pick up. I did hear a conversation with Mr. Clive Backus and gentleman from the office of the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. I did not catch much of what he expounded on, but I caught the gist. And even from the last interview that he had, I recognize his voice. Yes. So in my mind, it is the same script. But presently, what we are up against, and considering the influence of the United States, and I admire, when there are new persons at the helm, there's a breath of fresh air, so to speak, like the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mayor Martin. From time to time, you will have heard different Prime Ministers, like Ralph Gonsalves and then Mr. Devon Browne from Antigua. But she has held the helm of Barbados not too long ago, and so yes, her voice lucid, and rightly so. Also, the Prime Minister of Trinidad is very adamant when it comes to the CARICOM as to the stance when it comes to Venezuela. We have known for quite some time, and it is the same script. But to really get to the crux of the matter, with the influence that the United States has, because they set up all of these institutions, and they will wield a big stick. I am wondering what would be the repercussion if we had to take a stand. We have taken a stand on Venezuela before this, what we call pandemic, but now so many has changed. I am wondering, with all of these orders that has been put in for vaccines and the like to really help the health aspect of our people. Even though, me personally, I'm not for the vaccine, but be that as it may, the nation needs it, whatever persons would want to take it. I am wondering with all the influence that the United States has, and what would be their position now, considering there are so many other things that has come to the fore as to you're not voting for Mr. Maduro, for Juan Guaido. You're not siding with the United States. So therefore, you're not getting the vaccine. I'm just trying to stretch our imagination as to the core, what the engine that drives these people to submission of all and sundry, submission of all and sundry. If you are to benefit from the vaccine, given my influence over the World Health Organization, you have to fall in line first. Otherwise, we put you on the back burner. And therefore, what was considered for you to get the vaccine maybe in January, February, you have to wait till September. And that is the type of fear factor. That is the type of things that these people, that is the depth. That is the extreme. But you know what? No matter how extreme it might be, all of this has to come to play. In my mind, I have already seen the movie. I've been to the movie. I've seen the whole drama. I see the whole players, and the movie has already been concluded before they really, bring it to the fore. I have seen the movie, and I have seen the end of the movie. So I'm not perturbed, but for the care and the concern of vulnerable people, for the care and concern of the human, the core, the concern of what a human dignity, the dignity of human beings are to be, yes, that is the extreme. And you cannot put nothing like don't think about these things. You have to think outside of the box as to the extreme that these people will go in order to ruin nations. It has done, the script has been written, there might have been new players, but it's the same game over and over. We feel good about even neighbor, next door neighbor, Guyana, having to discover so much oil and the like, and the benefit that would we have to the ordinary people in Guyana. But it's going to be the same old script, the same old exploit. So, yes. And speaking of Donald Trump, I don't really elaborate on those prior fellows, but it is a perfect example of all these years, and it's just the exposure. Here it is, you're reading your big stick on all of the nations, who must concede and who must not concede, or who must vacate office. And yet in your mind, you're feeling like, these are the things that I should have accomplished long time. So the game continues. You know, the game continued. That these are the things that he did not accomplish within his 4-year period of the office of the presidency in the United States. So he's trying to fulfill all of these things, more evil. But you see us as a people, no matter who might take the vaccine, and I'm 90-year-old taking the vaccine, the disparity with a 90-year-old and a 20-year-old who has just came out of college or starting a career is no comparison there. And what a vaccine might affect one DNA haplogroup group, it may not affect the other DNA haplogroup in the same vein. I'm not a geneticist. I'm not into genetics by any stretch of the imagination. But we have unique DNA that is under attack. Everything else has tried and failed. Planned Parenthood, everything else has tried and failed to minimize. Of course, we were told that we were going to be like stars in the skies and sands on the shore. So how can you minimize stars in the skies and sands on the shore? And it's by any means necessary. Because in order for longevity and in order for this system to be maintained, the lands that belongs to us and our birthright has to be always be manipulated, exploited to the extreme. And you know the big fear was the year of return in 2019 with all those celebrities. You could imagine people like stands on the shores and stars in the skies going back to claim what is theirs. We will never of that. We will never of that. We will always share. But they got to come with humility and respect. And we sit at the table and we negotiate any type of businesses. You want my coal pan to continue to run your modern technology, you have to pay the market price. Just like no more exploitation. That's all we're saying. Come with humility and respect, and you will achieve it. Because I have already seen the script. I have already seen the movie, and I hope our people wake up. But if these things are going to drive us to the point where we open our eyes, hey, so be it. So be it, because we have to come to that point to know who we are and what is at stake. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, caller, for your contribution. This has been a heated discussion this morning concerning the U.S. election and the Venezuelan election and the alleged disparity between who certain countries and who certain groups of people believe is the current president of Venezuela, whether it be President Guaido or President Maduro. And it fueled a very interesting discussion, or fueled a constant flow of callers who had opinions on the situation, on America's America's active contribution into the state of Venezuela. Caller, you're live on Voices. Good morning.
Yes, good afternoon. Hear me now? Good morning, Mr. Brown.
You're just 5 minutes early.
I think you and Devon had the same either mother or father, you know.
I can assure you that's not true.
And your cousin?
I don't think so.
You from Nevis?
He's from Nevis. I have some family in Nevis, but I'm not that.
I have cousins up there too. Plenty of them. Maybe your cousin came down. I wanted to sell mango. Or they came to work. Anyway, let me answer Mr. McMahon. Mr. McMahon, there's something called exploitation and there's something called participation. I don't know if you know, in many countries, foreign direct investors are required to ensure that there is local participation in terms of ownership of shares. So when they pull out, we get something. Now, in some countries, they say 49%. 51 for you, 49%. You know, all of this talk about China stealing the intellectual things. Is that you going to China? They have to own part of it. I am not against direct investment, you know, but I am saying we must own something. What we have a lot going on here under the guise of foreign direct investment is land speculation. For you who don't understand what it means, let me explain. They come in and they say, for example, the one who came with this thing with the cannabis, you want 300 acres, right? To do the CDB project?
I'm unaware of that particular situation.
Yeah, man, just before election, Dr. Douglas brought some white people here, out of other people. They were to produce, the cannabis, and they were to produce the CDB oil. So we were to grow it, and they were to market it and whatever. They want 300 acres. Now, what they usually do, they would ask for this land, and after you have given them title to the land, they then begin to parcel out the land and sell it. Now, for example, they will come in and say, well, this land is undeveloped. Take Southeast Peninsula, land speculation going on out there. Some going on down in the country, near to St. Paul's. Large quantities of land for their projects. So we agree because we want foreign direct investment. And then we sell them. We don't even lease them, you know. And next thing you know, the plan and the plot, it happens in Jamaica, in other countries. They want so much land to do bauxite. Like in Guyana, they want so much land, sea area to drill. And you hand them title, they do a little bit and then they pull out. And then, well, you know, it wasn't profitable. And next thing you know, they're cutting up the land into pieces and selling it, or they keep it there to keep out other investors. That's land speculation. In saying, because we have gotten a lot of foreign direct investment, Mr. McMahon, that has brought us no ownership rights. In fact, they have a way of pulling out. We give them 15 years holiday tax exemption. What do they do? In the 15th year, sometimes the very same people change the name of the enterprise and reapply as a new company. Our people are unable to reach top management. They reach middle, but we don't own any shares. So when they publish the accounts, the financial accounts, and they make, say, 20 million net profit, because they were given tax exemption, we get nothing. It has become so bad that they have some of them collecting the hotel tax and keeping it for themselves under the guise that it will help them to reinvest and whatever. What do we get?
I apologize for cutting you off, but...
but he asked a question.
I understand.
I want him to study that and consider what do we get? Bermuda and other countries, you come in, you got to, local people must have a share in it. We have no share in nothing over there. All right then.
Thank you so much, caller, for your contribution. We are going to take a break for the headline news, and we'll be back, and hopefully the discussion will continue to flow concerning this. It's a robust debate between the callers. Thank you so much, and continue to listen.
found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the Win FM Headline News. The Win FM Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Merry Christmas. 'Tis the season to save with Delayed Wallet and Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Purchasing a new car this Christmas? Save up to 65% off. Yes, that's 65% off your motor insurance premiums. Switch and save up to an additional 30% discount on your premiums. Visit us at Liverpool Road, Bastier, St. Kitts, or Hunkins Drive, Nevis. Call 465-2631 or 469-5303. Promotion ends December 31st. Quotations valid until January 15th. Terms and conditions apply. 'Tis the season to save up to 65% off.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
St. Kitts and Nevis has recorded its 26th confirmed case of COVID-19, according to Chief Medical Officer CMO Dr. Hazel Laws. That disclosure was made on Wednesday, December 9th, 2020, at the National Emergency Operations Center NEOC briefing.
I want to use this platform to announce yet another case of coronavirus disease. And so yes, we do have an additional case. This is hot off the press, We just received that call at 5:01 p.m. this afternoon. So we have a total of 26 confirmed cases of COVID-19 from or within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
According to CMO Dr. Laws, the individual arrived from the United States of America at the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw International Airport on November 25th, 2020. On December 5th, 2020, it was announced that St. Kitts and Nevis recorded 3 additional cases of COVID-19 involving a traveler from India on November 20th and 2 from the USA on November 28th and 29th, 2020, respectively. The CMO gave the assurance at the NEOC briefing that all cases have been in quarantine since their arrival and strict protocols are being enforced. No one has died of the virus in the Federation. There are 23 recoveries.
During the National Emergency Operations Center press briefing on December 9th, the Medical Chief of Staff Cameron Wilkinson shared the new guidelines for mass gatherings, starting with what constitutes a mass gathering in the context of COVID-19.
Now, some persons ask, what is a mass gathering? An event counts as a mass event or mass gathering if the number of people it brings together is so large that it has the potential to strain the planning and response resources of the health system in the community where it takes place. And this is in the context of COVID-19.
Prior to COVID-19, a mass gathering may have meant a stadium filled with hundreds or thousands of people, such as the St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival Queen Pageant or Juve. Now, in the context of COVID-19, a mass gathering within the Federation can be seen as a crowd of 100 or more. The introduction of these guidelines is a combination of outcries from the entertainment industry and concerns from health authorities and law enforcement. Wilkinson went on to describe some other aspects of the new guidelines to be adopted with immediate effect.
Now, in addition to the number of persons, we also take into consideration the location and the duration of the event. And we have a number of guidelines that we've put forward so that persons can follow. First, permission must be obtained from the Commissioner of Police, and this will be done in collaboration with the Chief Medical Officer for hosting these events. And we are asking organizers not to advertise these events until permission is obtained. Now, a gathering refers to a planned or spontaneous event, whether it is indoor or outdoor, with a small number of people participating or a large number of persons in attendance, such as community events, concerts, festivals, conference, parades, wedding, and sporting events. So we should be quite clear now what we are speaking about as it relates to these gatherings. Now, the number of persons present would significantly affect the risk as it pertains to the spread of COVID-19. The lowest risk, obviously, is associated with virtual events. The highest risk is associated with a large in-person gathering, where it is difficult for individuals to remain spaced at least 6 feet apart, and attendees travel from outside the local area. And this is the scenario with the major mass events that we normally have round about Christmas and Carnival time.
A major part of the new guidelines is the introduction of caps.
We have decided to place a cap on the number of persons who can attend these events. And so going forward from now, there will be a cap on the number of persons who can attend these mass gatherings or social events, and this figure was factored into when we thought about the capacity of our healthcare system. In addition to the number of persons scheduled to attend, factored in when the decision is made is whether or not there will be music, dancing, alcohol, and the duration of the event. It's not just the absolute number that we'll be looking at, but what happens at the events. Now, going forward, the event sizes would be in 3 main categories: small, medium, and large. Small is an event with persons number between 25 and 50, medium between 51 and 100, and large between 101 and 150.
Wilkinson added that consideration will be given with respect to whether the event is indoors or outdoors. Permission will not be given to any event that is indoors with more than 100 persons, as the risk of spread is greater indoors compared to outdoors, explained Wilkinson. In order for event organizers and promoters to gain approval, Wilkinson addressed the requirements necessary for clearance of their event.
Now, there are certain things that the event promoters, entertainers, and organizers must know as it relates to the requirements. They have to submit their tax clearance and a valid business license from the Inland Revenue Department. A written outline of their protocols for hosting the event must be submitted with the layout of the venue and the security plan, and this will be vetted by the Commissioner of Police. They must submit the application on an online website, which will be provided to you just now, at least 15 days prior to the event. And we have committed to giving you a response within 3 to 4 days of your application, so that persons can't say they sent an application and had to wait several weeks before. And so this will make sure that you don't have to advertise before you get permission, because once you send your application in, you should get a response within 3 to 4 days of sending in the application.
A full copy of the guidelines should be disseminated to the public shortly.
Calvin Grant, also known as Big Cheese of Fort Thomas Road, Bastille, is being sought by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. Calvin Grant is dark in complexion and has black hair and brown eyes, and is 5 feet 11 inches in height. He escaped police custody on December 9th, 2020. Calvin Grant is being asked to present himself to the nearest police station. Anyone who sees him or knows of his whereabouts is asked to contact the Bastille Police Station at 465-2241, the nearest police station, or call the crime hotline at 707. All information shared will be treated as confidential.
In regional news,
one of the world's leading leisure and travel companies is reportedly bypassing Barbados as a destination of choice for its customers in favor of others with less stringent COVID-19 protocols regarding testing. And Tourism Minister Senator Lisa Cummins, who is aware of the development, says Barbados is willing to sacrifice some business from major industry partners rather than put the population at risk. She made the comments in response to concerns that Barbados could be losing some major business from the German-based TUI group, which has decided to sever ties with destinations with strict protocols and only deal with those with more relaxed or no protocols in place.
The government of Barbados, the Ministry of Tourism, prides itself on being marketed and being a safe destination. What makes us safe has been the level of diligence being practiced by our public health officials. When we started with the second test, there was a lot of resistance in some instances. But over time, we have begun to see more and more countries reaching out to me and out to our public health officials looking to introduce a second test. We have seen across the region that has been the case. And why is that? Because we needed to ensure here in Barbados that our people were kept safe, that our guests were kept safe. If you look at the data, and I mentioned it earlier, from the Ministry of Health, which is publicly available on the dashboard, every single day, about 95% of our tests are coming, of our positive cases are being detected on the second test. We are very happy that partners like British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, American Airlines, and others, and even in our conversations with IATA, have been supportive of the public health measures that Barbados has put in place. On the other hand, there are partners who, in my view, are making a decision that put their guests at risk. Barbados will not be a part of that.
Speaking during the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's 4th quarterly general meeting, which was held virtually yesterday, Senator Cummins, however, agreed that there was need for a strategic plan to be put in place to fill any gaps.
The BTMI has been asked to take responsibility for market penetration. We have asked the BHTA just maybe yesterday, to provide us with your occupancy projections for the months of December and January, and then I perhaps can add February. And once we get those projections, we commit to working with you to ensure that we can match your projections with our marketing and with our development of those partnerships that I spoke about earlier, so that we can fill as many rooms as possible. But what we will not do is fill as many rooms as possible and with any partners that we can at any cost. So if they have chosen, and I do know that they have chosen to go to other destinations, that is a choice that TUI can make, and that is their decision to make. But for Barbados, we will protect this homeland with everything that we have, because at the end of COVID, we have to ensure that when guests come to Barbados, that they're able, one, to benefit from a safe destination, but also they're able to benefit from a population that receives them warmly and is able to say that we kept people safe at this time, and we did not put visitors or business or even money at the expense of Barbadian lives and Barbadian livelihoods.
In news from Trinidad and Tobago, 2 infants have tested positive for COVID-19. This report from Triple T Live Online.
2 babies in Tobago have tested positive for COVID-19. Head of Pediatric Emergency Department at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Dr. Joanne Paul, confirmed the news at Wednesday's Ministry of Health press conference. Dr. Paul said the babies are doing well and present very mild symptoms. Kimberly D'Souza reports.
In fact, the one you mentioned in Tobago, in fact, we have 2 in Tobago, one a 5-month-old and a 6-month-old, who have confirmed being positive for COVID.
Head of Pediatrics in the Emergency Department of the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Dr. Joanne Paul, confirmed the news at Wednesday's Ministry of Health press conference. While she said the babies are doing well, she encouraged parents to be on the lookout for symptoms of MIS-C, which is the multi-inflammatory syndrome in children.
So we might see things like they might present with red eyes, red lips and tongue called strawberry tongue. They'll have a rash all over them, and the rash could be anything aside from the chickenpox rash. Next slide. Also, we have this thing called COVID toes. The same clot formation might be in the toes. So you might have it where the vessels there get some clots, and you have it where you see little spots in the toes and the fingers.
Dr. Paul said MIS-C is a multi-systems disease which affects the lungs, heart, and brain in children. While some children may develop MIS-C as a result of COVID-19, some may not be positive for the virus, but can still develop the disease.
But remember, with MIS-C, it's in the inflammatory aspect, and therefore it's after, so they may not be positive with COVID. So we have had a few of them who have been negative with COVID, but serology has been positive. So the antibodies have been there, the tests have been done, and they've been showing that they have shown signs of MIS-C.
She said in total, 20 cases of MIS-C have been reported, but there have been no fatalities.
I think in total, they've come from various places. We've had one from Tobago, and they've all gone to Mount Hope, one from the Sani Grande area, but the majority of them have been on the east-west corridor and the central area, and less so in South though. In terms of the demographics, they have been mainly mixed population, some Afro-Trinidadians and some mostly mixed, and a few Indo-Trinidadian, but mainly mixed and Afro, which goes...
While Trinidad and Tobago has more cases of MIS-C than other Caribbean islands, Dr. Paul believes it is as a result of our mixed population. Kimberly D'Souza, TTT News.
We now bring you this international report.
Pharmaceutical giant Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech are saying that hackers have stolen data related to development of their coronavirus vaccine in a cyber attack on the European Union's medicines regulator. The European Medicines Agency has confirmed they were targeted in a cyber attack, but gave no further details. And the incident is the latest in a string of hacking attempts against healthcare and medical organisations related to the pandemic response. Reuters has previously reported on allegations that hackers linked to North Korea, South Korea, Iran, Vietnam, China and Russia have on separate occasions tried to steal information about the virus and potential treatments. Pfizer and BioNTech said they did not believe that any personal data of trial participants had been compromised and had been assured by the EU agency that the attack will have no impact on the timeline for its review, which is due to be completed on December 29. It was not immediately clear when or how the attack took place or who was responsible.
This was the first time in months that the British Prime Minister has travelled personally to Brussels, and the importance of the dinner with the European Commission President cannot be exaggerated. After deadlock in the technical negotiations, the hopes of salvaging $1 trillion a year trading relationship now rested on political compromise. Firstly, over the etiquette of face masks.
Do you take our mask off, Ursula?
If we keep distance, then...
Outside the Commission building, the Union flag was hoisted for the first time since January. But when Boris Johnson's motorcade departed 3 hours later, the assessment from the UK side was downbeat. Significant obstacles and very large gaps remain, said a spokesman. Unclear whether these can be bridged. Ursula von der Leyen's statement described a lively and interesting discussion, but also admitted a clear understanding that the positions remain very far apart. The negotiating teams have been asked to reconvene in one last effort to find common ground, but on Sunday a firm final decision will be made.
To answer questions from Sir Ed.
Both sides have political red lines and compromise is difficult. Before travelling to Brussels, Boris Johnson had faced a restless session of Parliament.
What I can say is that this country will be ready for whether we have a Canadian or an Australian solution, and there will be jobs created in this country throughout the whole of the UK, not just in spite of Brexit, but because of Brexit.
And Ursula von der Leyen is also under intense pressure to protect the integrity of the EU's single market.
Wir können nicht einfach sagen, darüber sprechen.
We need a level playing field, and not just for today, but for tomorrow and the next day. We need agreements on how each side can react when the other side changes its legal parameters. Otherwise, it will result in unfair competition, and we won't let this happen to our businesses.
But future-proofing a level playing field between the two is challenging. The EU is adamant that Britain can't continue to have free access to the single market if it also wants to diverge from EU standards and rules. But Britain is equally insistent that the EU's attempts to lock the UK to European rules is an unacceptable infringement of sovereignty. Analysts see the need for compromise on both sides.
It will have to understand that a third country that does not have 100% of the market access can also not take over a lot of the EU's rules, that it needs to have a lot of regulatory freedom.
It's very much on the edge right now, and it all depends on Boris Johnson, whether he's willing to make the compromises that are required.
European leaders and heads of state arrive here in Brussels later on Thursday for the final European Council summit of the year. No clearer as to what the trading arrangement with the UK will be just 3 weeks from now. And even if a deal can somehow miraculously be struck before January the 1st, ratification of it is highly unlikely in that kind of timescale. It's a messy end to a very messy year. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
Retired General Lloyd Austin has served in the U.S. military for 4 decades, rising from West Point graduate to leader of U.S. Central Command. As the leader of U.S. forces in Iraq, Austin oversaw the withdrawal of troops under the Obama-Biden administration.
General Austin was a diplomat. It was not an easy task. He built relationships with our Iraqi counterparts and with our coalition partners.
Austin said Wednesday, as Defense Secretary, he would continue to work to strengthen coalitions.
America is strongest when it works with its allies. And over the years, I've worked hand in hand with our diplomatic colleagues and partners around the globe and witnessed firsthand what we're able to accomplish together.
Biden says Austin is a skilled leader, respected by troops and admired for his integrity. If confirmed, he would become the first black U.S. Secretary of Defense, leading a military where more than 40% of active duty members are of color.
We need his personal experience helping inform our efforts to ensure that our armed forces reflect the full strength and diversity of our nation. That black, Latino, Asian American, Native American, women, men, LGBT, service members are treated with dignity and respect.
But Austin's nomination also brings some controversy. U.S. law calls for a civilian-led military, requiring top brass to have been out of uniform for at least 7 years. Austin has been retired for 4 years, which means he'll need a congressional waiver. Jim Mattis was the last defense secretary who got a waiver, but members of Congress said then their action was a one-time exception. Now, 2 Democratic senators have already said they will not approve a waiver for Austin. And the retired general may face tough questions about his recent work for a defense contractor.
Somebody will dig up some dirt of some kind, real or imaginary, and they'll trundle it out there, and this becomes ready bait for those who don't want to see this particular thing occur.
Austin says if confirmed to Biden's cabinet, he would approach the job of U.S. Defense Secretary from a civilian perspective and surround himself with civilian staff. But it is Congress he will have to convince. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Wilmington, Delaware.
That was the Win FM headline news, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Tis the season to save with Delayed Woman and Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Purchasing a new car this Christmas? Save up to 65% off. Yes, that's 65% off your motor insurance premiums. Switch and save up to an additional 30% discount on your premiums. Visit us at Liverpool Road, Bastier, St. Kitts or Hunkins Drive, Nevis. Call 465-2631 or 469-5303. Promotion ends December 31st. Quotations valid until January 15th. Terms and conditions apply. 'Tis the season to save up to 65% off. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Found the Sound 98.9 FFM.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
Paint it, tile it, improve it. Your walls, paint it. Your floors, tile it. Your home, improve it. Huge savings at the Hosford's Building Center. Paint it, tile it, improve it. Sales event happening now. Yes. Come to Hosford's Building Center now and get savings of 25% off all paint and up to 75% off all tiles. Yes, yes. Love things are gonna keep at Hosford's with up to 75% off piles of tiles in all styles and 25% off all paint. Come now and get a chance to win $500 shopping spree at Value Mart with the purchase of 5 gallons of paint or more. That's right. Buy 5 gallons or more of paint and you get a chance to win $500 in free groceries. Starting now until December 31st, 2020. It's your home. So paint it, tile it, improve it. At Hosford's Building and Nevis Center's year-end Paint It, Tile It, Improve It sale. Come now. Save big and simply paint it, tile it, and improve it. The event starts now and ends December 31st, 2020. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Very good afternoon to you. You're live on Voices.
Good afternoon, Mr. Backus.
Yes, good afternoon. Mr. Browne is taking a break now, so we've been doing a bit of a tag team today on the program. So
yes, that's what it sounds like.
Yes,
yeah.
go ahead, please.
I saw your earlier interview. I heard your earlier interview, well, parts of it anyway. And I was wondering if you had asked him if there was going to be any change in U.S. policy, if he anticipates a change in U.S. policy after Biden.
Good question. A good question, but no, I didn't pose that question to him.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I realize, as you might have heard, that I suggested that you, being the consummate diplomat that you are, you didn't ask him too many pointed questions.
No comment.
But I understand. But Mrs. Henry made a contribution there, and I basically asked her what would she suggest as a way forward for our country in terms of its development path, to which she answered just before the break. And I wasn't really satisfied with the answer. No surprise there, I think you might say. But there is no evidence that Mrs. Henry can refer to say that land was sold to any white investor or foreigner. Right? The much maligned land for debt swap, which did so much to stabilize our economy by lowering the debt to GDP ratio, that has not been reversed because it was a good policy, right? A good alternative to raising taxes to pay for debt. And the white foreigner who she made reference to was Alki David, and as far as I can remember, he wasn't buying any land. He was going to provide the seedlings and buy the products from local farmers to market the pharmaceutical industry, to market the product in the pharmaceutical industry. That's what I remember how it went. I remember saying at the time that we regret the day we didn't at least consider the proposal. For here we still are, with the land still in kosher and bush, and we're no better off. we could have been earning foreign exchange from the 300 acres and still have the other 900 or whatever it is acres to grow food or build houses. And what Mrs. Henry was describing just before the break was the worst case scenario. I don't think any government in St. Kitts would allow for rampant land speculation, the kind of rampant land speculation that she was trying to scare people with. And while there is much to be said for a partnership, the partnership model that she advocates, that has pitfalls as well. We don't want our local companies or local capitalists or entrepreneurs to be left holding any bag if such a project fails. You know, she points to existing projects and asks, well, what have they done for us? Well, imagine there was no Marriott, no Hyatt, no Koi, no Four Seasons, no Christopher Harbour, no Kittishon Hill. What is she going to tell the thousands of workers who benefit from either direct or indirect employment from these projects? Right? All those small and large businesses who supply services and goods to these establishments. All the foreign currency that their guests bring. Right? You know, should ask the workers there if they don't like foreign direct investment. Right? And look at our manufacturing sector. It was the only sector bringing in foreign exchange apart from the CBI during the crisis. And look at the technology transfers and the skills training that occurred there in the manufacturing sector. Look at how resilient that sector has been in this crisis. And look at our offshore schools. That's foreign direct investment. It really has no local input, but they provided high-quality, good-paying jobs for our people. And look at the CBI, that they criticized so roundly. Apart from changes made to attract a lower-end applicant and increase the income, it has remained largely intact. And while we can hardly call it the platinum brand now, it has at least kept our economy afloat. The fact is, right, we are a small country with scarce capital, and even though we know capital is scarce, we went and built a pier that is there as a white elephant, not fit for purpose. Not fit for the purpose it was intended. It's a white elephant not because of the fact that the cruise industry has temporarily collapsed. It is not fit for purpose. It was built to accommodate the Oasis-class ships. And as far as we know, it can't. Right? And that put our major public and private companies at risk. SCASPON, National Bank, Social Security, TDC, they all contributed to that venture. If we had let foreign direct investment build that pier, they would have absorbed the risk and leave us with our money to do other things, other more important things. Okay? People should think and don't just fall into this emotional trap, emotional argument, like they're selling off the land to white people. Right? They shouldn't fall for that kind of political deception, man. Not now, not in 2020. Okay? Bring in as much foreign direct investment as possible. Bring in as many factories as possible. They can't just walk off and leave the investment. If they do, we can take them over and turn them into whether hospitals, more offshore schools, local hotels, or offshore medical facilities, right? And while they are here, they have to be maintained. So more work for our painters and plumbers and electricians. We can even do speculation ourselves. More work for the professional people like the lawyers and the accountants and the realtors. Okay? Right? And of course, just bring them in. They can't take back the buildings. They can't take back the skills that they gave our people when they were working there. Right? So even if they pack up and leave, they still leave things back here for us to use. But first, we got to bring them in. Right? So I was trying to get Mrs. Henry to give us an alternative path, but since she can't, well, I'm suggesting we maximize our current policy of trying to attract as much foreign direct investment as possible. The government is one of the failings of this current government It has not been able to do so, okay, unlike the previous government that, they basically brought in so much foreign direct investment that for the last 5 years, we've been able to coast on the money and the projects that they brought in. But now we have to think of fresh new ways to do business, to bring in foreign direct investment to continue the development of our economy. That's it.
Well, before you go, though, I think that our listeners would love to have, this is just my opinion, a debate between you and Ms. Henry. Are you game for that? We don't mind staging that debate for you. We could have you both agree on a topic and we give you
I don't
rules.
mind. I absolutely don't mind.
Well, I'm going to ask Ms. Henry the same question.
Right.
And if she agrees...
You just arrange it.
Yes, and if she agrees, we're going to have you in the same place because we need to have the rebuttal and so on, So
Right,
we're going to do that. But before you go, though, and no one else is on the line, so I can't be accused of allowing you to do all the talking while people are waiting, and sometimes they accuse Miss Henry of that, they accuse Mr. Montserrat, that's how it is. But nobody's calling at the moment. So let me ask you a question then. The question is, what do you make of CARICOM's position on Venezuela as one part of the question? The other part of the question has to do with, you have pretty close to 5 million refugees, people fleeing Venezuela. Do you have any sense as to what can be done from the CARICOM perspective to help Venezuelans who may be in distress? I was speaking earlier on to Mr. Socha of the U.S. Embassy, and we're talking about the fact that some Caribbean countries feel a bit, overwhelmed. And I heard of this case where some children and women were put back on a boat and sent out to sea. It created quite some outrage. So what are your thoughts in those regards?
Well, for one thing for sure, right, the CARICOM should stick to its position of non-interference in Venezuelan affairs. It's a United Nations Charter position. It's that of the OAS as well. So why break it? They have the moral high ground when they insist that the United States should not interfere in Venezuelan affairs. It was interesting to hear what was he, Charles de Frere?
No, he's a public affairs man at the embassy.
Okay, right. It was interesting to hear his rejoinder, basically saying, well, others interfering too, Russia and China and so on. Okay, that's standard. I don't think much of those kinds of arguments, because basically you're saying, yeah, I know I'm doing wrong, but somebody else did it too. What is that? Okay, how does that help the refugees that you've been speaking about? So first, the CARICOM should stick together on this, and they should also be united in having an approach, a single approach to the U.S. The U.S. is obviously trying to have rifts between various countries in CARICOM, St. Lucia and Jamaica and the Bahamas and Santo Domingo, I think it is, on one hand, and the rest, there with sticking to their non-interference policy. Okay? And we should resist that. The CARICOM leaders should resist that. Right? But for some reason, and we spoke about this in relation to Barbados, Mayor Motley, and the Leah situation, she should have known better, I think. For some reason, they all fall back. Instead of having a principled position, they all fall back into this what's in it for me kind of thing. Let me see how much I can get if I support U.S. policy. Those kinds of positions. They have to stop this. I mean, it's a variation of the old divide and rule policy that got us into the mess in the first place. Okay? And as for the refugees, once we realize that people are fleeing Venezuela because of economic hardship, and the U.S., I'm surprised that, well, he's a diplomat, so like I said before, he can make something that's unreasonable sound reasonable. But U.S. sanctions directly influence those refugees. They're the cause of them. There's no getting away from that. And it's deliberate. It's deliberately intended. And they could say it's just to hurt the officials all they want. In the fair analysis, it's the ordinary people who get hurt. Same thing with their Cuban policy, right? They want to say just Castro they go after. Yeah, you go after Castro by hurting everybody else. Makes no sense, right? But they're going to do it anyway. And so with regards to refugees, we can't take in 5 million refugees, Mr. Backus. Which country can do that? Even if we divide them between us, it's going to lead to severe dislocation. The answer is to get to the root of the problem. I think Maduro needs to go, but negotiate some terms that don't just lead to the ascension of Guaido. That would be a bad precedent, okay? Because I think with Guaido is just a means of getting power, right? So we can't reward that, okay? He's prepared to collude with Venezuelan enemies just to get power, and to me that's unpatriotic, all right? So go to the root of the problem, okay? Negotiate, CARICOM should facilitate some negotiation that leads to Maduro going and some form of democratic government in Venezuela, all right, and let things go back to normal. Those people not leaving because they want to they're leaving because they have to. And so deal with the root cause of the problem, right? Don't talk about assimilating millions of refugees. That's only going to compound the problem, and more people will come. All right, deal with it at the root, and that is make sure Venezuela becomes stabilized. Let them get to sell the oil wherever is best for them again. All those sorts. In other words, stabilize the country, and you wouldn't have a refugee problem. That's what I think.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your contribution. Much appreciated. All right, you listen to Win FM. It's 90.9 in your dial. Aaron Voices, and this segment comes to your compliments Flo and SL Hospital and Company Limited.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
It's official! Friday, December 18th and Saturday, December 19th are VAT days. But you can come today and get pre-approved credit for VAT Day. Save some of the hassle of this VAT Day and drop by some of your local Hosford department stores today. Yes! Come to any Hosford department today and get pre-approved credit for December 18th and December 19th. No down payment necessary. That's right, zero money down. And no payment until February 2021. That's right. No payment until February 2021. Come to Hosford's today, where we will be dropping major discounts plus pre-approved credit when you shop now. How, you ask? Well, it's simple. All you have to do is visit any of the Hosford's departments, including furniture and appliances, Ashley Furniture Home Store, Building and Nevis Centers, and the Automotive Division. Make your VAT Day wish list, and we'll do the credit check. Come back on VAT Day and get all that you picked with your pre-approved credit and be on your way to a merrier Christmas. Whether it's new furniture, a new stove, or a brand new car, Hosford's is giving you pre-approved credit today. Be on your way to a merrier Christmas. Pre-approved credit today for VAT Days December 18th and December 19th at Hosford. Visit stores for all details.
Yes, indeed. A very good afternoon to you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing right about now. Good afternoon. Thank you for choosing Win FM 90.9, www.winnfm.com, winsknmedia.com. We say good afternoon to Naima. Naima, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Clive. How are you?
I'm doing fine. And, I called you Naima without giving any other names because it's just like saying, Luther, It's just,
Naima's good.
Yeah, the name, the name has a certain, resonance to it. So they say, Luther. You don't say Luther Vandross. You just say Luther. So I'm saying Naima, you know what I'm saying? Well, it's good to have you on board. I just called you to find out. You know, this is a season for giving. And I know that you are a board member of the children's home, and I wanted to know what was going on with the home. How is the home managing during this COVID-19 period, and of course, what else can be done to help? How can we help?
Well, it has been a very challenging time for the home. You know, we really didn't expect this when we started. When we celebrated 50 years in year 2000, which this is 50 years. You know, the home's been open since 1950. We never thought that, you know, we would expect this pandemic. And you know that the home has always really been dependent on community and corporate support. So while we see a lot of families are struggling and a lot of businesses are struggling, I think that people also forget that a lot of NGOs that depend on people who need to be depending on other people right now are also struggling. So it's been a difficult time for the home in terms of maintaining our cost and keeping the home open, because, you know, it's really needed. But we've been getting some support, and we just continue to look for support from our community partners and hope for, I guess, what's the word I want to say for? I don't want to say a better 2021, because, you know, this I think if we look at less familiar, but a more favorable year.
Yeah, I know.
For
I know exactly what you mean.
2021 for the children's home financially. Mm-hmm.
Well, over the years, the children's home has a stellar tale to tell. We've had some very important people who had the beginnings in the children's home, and
Yes.
you know, actually allow shining lights in the community.
Yes. And I think that a lot of the stigma attached to the children's home has been removed in the last couple of years. We put a lot of work really into that. The various boards that have come in the last 10 years really done a lot of work to address that stigma. And a lot of positive people come out of the children's home. And we have to always remember that the children's home is a safety net. It's there for, the children that are in the home didn't do anything to be in that home, but, you know, be born and unfortunately come upon a set of unfortunate circumstances. So we always need a place of protection for our children, who are the most vulnerable class of our society. And particularly in this pandemic, it's important that we remember that those children in the home are our children, and that they become a part of our community. They are currently a part, and they become a part of our community, and they are actually strong contributing members to the community. We have really positive stories coming out of the children's home. So I hope that people, when they see the home, would say, you know, they want to contribute to the future of our children, and that's a direct way that you can do it, by helping the home.
I know you get a part of the budget from the government, and you have to rely on fundraisers as well to meet the demands of the home. How are you managing in that process?
We're struggling. The government's really trying to assist us in the best way they can. Of course, they're also very, very stretched. And there's a lot of other NGOs and organizations and individuals, citizens that are needing their help as well. So we're getting a little bit of help there, but it's really it's never really enough, to be honest, to maintain the home. And people always think like so much money. We usually have the walk run around this time of the year. And the walk run usually sustains the home for almost the entire year, really. That money that people put in, that people come and contribute, mostly corporate donors and our individual donors. So people see a big check, they're like, oh, the big check is $150,000. The children's home is swimming in money. They don't need all that money. How much kids they got in that home, you know? And really, they don't understand, no, you really do need it. The home has to stay open. We have to pay staff. We have a vehicle. We have to run our vehicle. We have to feed our children. We have to clothe. So there's a lot of responsibilities. It's like having a house that you have to run all year round. People think, I don't need $150,000 to run your house. Yeah, but you don't have all the nation's children that are vulnerable there, and you don't have staff in your house. You are the staff in your house. So it's actually it's been really, really challenging for us to meet our operational costs. Some months it's actually really just to the wire, to be honest. But to credit to the board, I actually specifically want to call out Kim. She's really been doing a wonderful job. I don't know how many people know Kim, But she's doing a wonderful job as the chair of the board, and she's really been working hard. And also to the public who came out to support us we had a fundraising event recently, a scavenger hunt, and we had 18 teams come out to support, and that was really helpful. That money literally paid, literally paid for staff. Like, you literally kept the children's home. So sometimes just by attending an event like the scavenger hunt, you're literally keeping the children's home open. And so because this year, unfortunately, Clive, we cannot hold the children's home walk in the way that we would want to, we've had to turn to doing a few other smaller events, and which is some of what I want to talk to you about today.
Small events it is then.
Okay, events it is. So that's what we've been doing, really. I appreciate that you've taken this time to highlight the children's home, because I think in the season, everybody's a little overwhelmed by the COVID, but I think it's important that we also give. But at the children's home, we also know that it's a struggle, and sometimes it's hard for us to take money out of our pocket to give when we're struggling. So we've got some events that help everybody. So our next event is actually our bingo fundraiser. For those who don't know, one of our major partners is the St. Kitts Marriott Resort and Royal Beach Casino, who have been supporting us in our walk for 10 years. Without the casino, we really, to be honest, without the Marriott, we could probably not put on the walk. And it's actually one of our challenges this year because, of course, with the COVID regulations, it's a bit more difficult to put on the walk. And we really want to, it's a quality event. It's our event that people have an expectation of what they think that walk should be, and we don't really want to offer people less than what they're used to. So we're trying to do some smaller events and diversify. So this Saturday, we are having bingo. Yes, bingo. Have you ever played bingo, Clive?
No, thank you. But
I thought you would love it.
No, but I have lots.
Bingo is a ton of fun.
I have lots of family members. I have lots of family members who play it. I grew up with it all around, so I know how much fun people have playing bingo.
Yes, so we are having a very special fundraiser this Saturday. The Marriott Casino the Royal Beach Casino has been very, very generous to provide their location for us, our partners, for this special fundraiser. We're doing bingo. It's lots of prizes. We've got cash prizes. We've got a laptop. Yes, a MacBook. So if this season, you're like, I don't have that money to give to the children's home, and my child wants a computer, it's okay. You can come and play bingo and possibly win that computer. So for your $20 US, which is each game book is $20 US, 54 EC, you can play as many. Well, you know how bingo goes. You can play games, and the more games you play, the more books you buy, the greater chances you have, and you get a chance at winning up to US 150 or 405 EC, and our jackpot, of course, is a laptop, which is valued at $750 US. And so we're really excited about that. So instead of just coming out and giving your money, you can give and win something back, or have fun with your friends and your family, and also while you're giving, you're getting something back. So we're really excited for this partnership and this new activity, and we're hoping that people will come out and really support the home.
Well, bingo is a big deal. I can tell you that. It's a big deal in St. Kitts, and there was many people play bingo. So don't worry. I think you're going to get it. I hope you have all the COVID-19 protocols in place so when people show up.
Do all the COVID-19 I'm glad you mentioned that. Do not come without your identification. It's actually really important. You have to walk with your ID, and you have like a piece of picture ID. Any picture ID is good. And you have to also walk with your mask, of course. So we do want to observe protocols. We want to raise money, but we want everybody to stay healthy. That's just as important to us as it is to you. So we will be observing the protocols. So you will have to walk with ID, and you will have to walk with your mask, of course, as is expected in observing the protocols all over.
All right, just before we go, though, if anyone is listening...
No, I have more, Clive.
Oh, you have more?
No.
We have to go. We have to slow down a bit. Okay, you go now.
I only have 20 seconds left. I know my time.
Go ahead.
So in addition to the bingo, of course, we'll be doing more things in the new year. We're trying to create more events that meet different age and groups, different types of groups, so corporate groups, younger persons, older persons, families. We're just trying to reach all the different groups and people who like to participate, and just make something special for them. But one of the things that we really want people to consider this holiday especially, and going into the new year all throughout the year, is our Smile Amazon program. And for those of you who don't know about it, Smile Amazon is the same as Amazon.com. You just put in smileamazon.com instead of Amazon, and you can support a charity with your shopping. Our charity, the Children's Home, is called It's for the Children Foundation. So that's It's for the Children Foundation. Don't go looking for the St. Christopher Children's Home. You're not going to find it. You'll find It's for the Children Foundation. And that means every time you shop, a percentage of what you purchase, of your purchase value, goes to the Children's Home. It costs you nothing. But it can really add up for us at the home if we had everybody shopping. So I know this month it's $200 off, I believe. At Customs, you get your $200 US. So please go spend your $200 US on smileamazon.com. It's for the Children Foundation, so that the Children's Home, by your shopping, you can also be giving to us. So it doesn't cost you anything, and it's a great opportunity for the Children's Home to raise some funds. So we really want to encourage people going into the year to support our smileamazon.com program, which you can find on our website at St. Christopher's Children's Home, and you can also find on our Facebook.
Is that it?
Now you can go, Clive.
Okay, great. All right. No, that's fantastic. Now tell me this now. What do you want to say to people about this particular December? I know we've been talking about the Children's Home, but I know that you're also a psychologist, so I want to get you give me a little tip as to how we deal with all these demands at Christmas. Different December at this time around. The Children's Home, you've had to make your adjustments. Everybody's making some kind of adjustments, one or the other. But leave us with a parting thought.
Well, I would say, I know it doesn't feel like it right now because we are so accustomed to the familiar, and we're really all trying to get back to what was familiar to us. But it's coming to the end of 2020, and people are very excited about 2021, and we need to head into 2021 now looking for the favor that comes out of, what we've experienced. So even though COVID has been hard set on our communities, it's really affected our economy. It's affected us as a nation, how we relate to each other, how we survive. It's also an opportunity for us to come together as communities to see ways that we can help each other. Every kind of help doesn't necessarily mean it's money, but this is a chance for you to see your neighbor struggling and share a meal, or see somebody and help them, or refer them to somebody who can help them, or assist somebody, even help their child so they could go to work. It's just little things that we can do for each other. And I think being that this is a season which we usually focus a lot on Carnival, and there's not Carnival for us in that way this year, that this is really a good time to focus on the season. And, we're meant to be a Christian culture, and really just to focus on the principles of the kingdom, and just being kind and loving and giving and sharing with each other, and really just trying to look at the things that are favorable in our lives and not just the things that are not going so well. So that would be my advice to you.
Thank you very much, Naima. Always a pleasure, man. And, of course, all the very best to the Children's Home as well, and the team working there as well. And thank you so much for talking to us in Voices today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you so much, Naima. So that's our conversation there with Naima, the Children's Home board member, and I just call her Naima. That's it. All right, and it was good to hear you have the Smile Amazon, thing working as such. You can, when you shop online, part of your proceeds can go to the Children's Home, and we want to thank you so much, and all the very best to Kim as well, and the rest of the team. You're listening to WinFM 90.9. It's just, 5 minutes after 1 o'clock? Yeah, that's the time. And, of course, our program, this segment comes to you, compliments Flo and SL Horsewood & Company Limited.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
Paint it, tile it, improve it. Your walls, paint it. Your floors, tile it. Your home, improve it. It's huge savings at the Hossford's Building Center. Paint it, tile it, improve it. Sales event happening now. Yes. Come to Hossford's Building Center now and get savings of 25% off all paint and up to 75% off all tiles. Yes. Nothing's are gonna keep at Hossford's with up to 75% off piles of tiles in all styles and 25% off and get a chance to win $500 shopping spree at Value Mart with the purchase of 5 gallons of paint or more. That's right. Buy 5 gallons or more of paint and you get a chance to win $500 in free groceries. Starting now until December 31st, 2020. It's your home. So paint it, tile it, improve it. At Hawksworth Building and Nevis Center's year-end Paint It, Tile It, Improve It sale. Come now. Save big and simply paint it, tile it, and improve it. The event starts now and ends December 31st, 2020. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Yes, indeed. You tuned to Win FM. It's 90.9. Pan American Health Organization had a press conference yesterday, and the advice coming out of PAHO. PAHO is saying to everyone, look, do not do much traveling this Christmas, all right? Postpone your traveling if you can, and let's have a Zoom-full Christmas, my word. Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, Zoom, or use Teams, or use Skype, or any other virtual meeting platform you like. But the word from PAHO is to basically stay where you are and leave the traveling for later. Survive this Christmas, and you can think about doing all the traveling you want to do next Christmas. Well, that's PAHO's advice. I don't mind hearing what you have to say about that. Our telephone number is 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-762-0989. We go to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon. Our numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. Good afternoon. You're live on Win FM. Hello. All right, I think you may be having some trouble with your phone this afternoon. You have to check that out first and call me back. 466-0989, 662-0989, and 762-0989. Well, yesterday's NEOC, National Emergency Operations Center press briefing, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson addressed a number of issues pertaining to what are some of the requirements if you want to do certain things over the Christmas carnival season. We thought we'd play a bit of that for you, in case you missed it. Or if you heard it before, you can hear it again. No harm in that. Serious stuff.
Can we start with the presentation? Now, when our borders opened on the 31st of October this year, we knew that there was going to be a great risk of reintroduction of the SARS-CoV-2 virus that caused COVID-19. And while we have very stringent protocols and procedures in place at our ports of entry, we know that there was still a significant risk of the virus entering the Federation undetected. And one of the things we have is this false sense of security, where if we hear that we have 25 cases, we assume that those are the only 25 cases. But it could be that 1 or 2 cases might have slipped in and we did not know. And that is why, despite the fact that we have no evidence as yet of community spread, we still need to continue with the non-pharmaceutical measures that we know are effective in controlling the spread of the virus. The World Health Organization has advised that avoiding the 3 C's, crowds, close spaces, and close contact settings, can significantly reduce the risk of community spread. And this is why we are taking proactive steps to control this. Right now, we know that we have 25 confirmed cases. I would not be surprised within a very short period of time, next week, next month, we hear that we have these numbers increasing, and so we need to remain ever vigilant in controlling these. Now, the Persons who organize mass events, they have been asking for some strict guidelines so that they can understand what are the protocols in place so that they can know whether or not they would get permission for their events. And we put together some protocols, and these were sanctioned by Cabinet this week. And I'm sure that you will be hearing from the officers also as to when we would start the introduction of this, which is almost immediately. Now, some persons ask, what is a mass gathering? An event counts as a mass event or mass gathering if the number of people it brings together is so large that it has the potential to strain the planning and response resources of the health system in the community where it takes place. And this is in the context of COVID-19, because prior to COVID-19, we'll be thinking about a mass gathering as a stadium that is packed with thousands of persons. But we now have to take into consideration the health system and whether or not we can deal with the outcome that would occur if we have significant spread following these mass events. One of the things we said about your actions as it relates to COVID-19, whereas, for example, if somebody knocks someone down, the person falls on the ground, and you see the immediate effect, you can go out unknowingly spread the virus, and your actions would not come into play until 2 weeks later when persons start getting sick. And we need to put into place things now to mitigate against this so that we don't have community spread. Now, in addition to the number of persons, we also take into consideration the location and the duration of the event. And we have a number of guidelines that we've put forward so that persons can follow. First, permission must be obtained from the Commissioner of Police, and this will be done in collaboration with the Chief Medical Officer for hosting these events. And we are asking organizers not to advertise these events until permission is obtained. We've seen situations where persons have been advertising events, people end up buying tickets, and then if they are not given permission, we have problems. Now, a gathering refers to a planned or spontaneous event, whether it is indoor or outdoor, with a small number of people participating or a large number of persons in attendance, such as community events, concerts, festivals, conference, parades, wedding, and sporting events. So we should be quite clear now what we are speaking about as it relates to these gatherings. Now, the number of persons present would significantly affect the risk as it pertains to the spread of COVID-19. The lowest risk, obviously, is associated with virtual events. And we recently saw the completion of the Calypso tents, where we had a number of persons looking at these events virtually at home in the safety of your bedroom or in your living room. And this is what carries the least amount of risk. Once we start bringing more and more persons together from different households, from different communities, together in one space, then the risk of COVID-19 spreading significantly increase. And so the highest risk is associated with a large in-person gathering, where it is difficult for individuals to remain spaced at least 6 feet apart, and attendees travel from outside the local area. And this is the scenario with the major mass events that we normally have round about Christmas and Carnival time. And so we're asking persons to take these things into consideration when they are planning their events. Because of this, we have decided to place a cap on the number of persons who can attend these events. And so going forward from now, there will be a cap on the number of persons who can attend these mass gatherings or social events, and this figure was factored into when we thought about the capacity of our healthcare system. In addition to the number of persons scheduled to attend, factored in when the decision is made is whether or not there will be music, dancing, alcohol, and the duration of the event. Because, as I said before, one can have 70 people sitting probably social distance at a funeral service, and they can cause much less risk as it relates to spreading the COVID-19 virus, as opposed to if you have 30 persons jumping and dancing, drinking alcohol and marrying within a closed space. And so it's not just the absolute number that we'll be looking at, but what happens at the events. Now, going forward, the event sizes would be in 3 main categories: small, medium, and large. Small is an event with persons number between 25 and 50, medium between 51 and 100, and large between 101 and 150. And consideration will also be given to whether or not the event is being kept indoors or outdoors. We know that the risk of the virus spreading is much greater if it's an indoor event as compared to an outdoor event. So a more favorable outlook will be considered if you are having the event outdoors. Now, the maximum cap, therefore, please go back to the slide. The maximum cap, therefore, until further notice is 150. For small family gatherings and where you have a few friends gathering, if the number is below 25, you would not require any permission from the Commissioner of Police. So permission will only be required if you're having an event with more than 25 persons. Next. Permission will also not be given for any indoor event that is over 100 persons, because I said before, the risk of the virus spreading in an indoor event is much greater as compared to an outdoor event. And the minimum square footage is 30 square feet per person for indoor events, so that you can have proper social distancing. As it relates to site visit, a visit will be made to the site to confirm the square footage submitted on the request, because sometimes persons submit applications and they give the incorrect square footage, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And an outdoor event location will also be visited to determine whether or not proper social distancing can be done when the event is being hosted. Sometimes persons ask, what is our break point where we would determine to put a stop to these events? If there is evidence of local COVID outbreak where we have isolated clusters of cases or evidence of community spread, then all social gathering and events will be stopped until the COVID-19 outbreak is contained. And what I mean by this, so far, all of the cases we've had have been imported. But if tomorrow we hear that there is a person who shows up, in the village or in Bastille with a cough or a cold, with no history of travel, no history of contact with somebody who traveled, and they're tested and they're found to be positive for COVID-19, that would be indicative of community spread. And in that scenario, we'll have to put a stop on these multiplier events that lead to an increased spread of COVID-19. Now, there are certain things that the event promoters, entertainers, and organizers must know as it relates to the requirements. They have to submit their tax clearance and a valid business license from the Inland Revenue Department. A written outline of their protocols for hosting the event must be submitted with the layout of the venue and the security plan, and this will be vetted by the Commissioner of Police. They must submit the application on an online website, which will be provided to you just now, at least 15 days prior to the event. And we have committed to giving you a response within 3 to 4 days of your application, so that persons can't say they sent in an application and had to wait several weeks before. And so this will make sure that you don't have to advertise before you get permission, because once you send your application in, you should get a response within 3 to 4 days of sending in the application. Now, the Protocols and Procedures is a very detailed document, but what I tried to do was to highlight the salient points and the most important guiding principles. But this would be circulated to all persons who are involved in mass events, entertainers, etc. And other matters that are addressed in the document is how you can promote healthy behavior while you're at the event, letting persons know, for example, if they're ill, they should stay home, because you could be advertised an event, you could have persons who are showing up with flu-like illnesses, and it's important for us to make sure persons understand this. We address hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette, because in these, at these events, people are shouting, screaming, sometimes they're shaking hand, fist bumping, etc. We address adequate supplies, because it's okay for us to say you must hand sanitize, but sometimes persons can have an event and they may not have enough hand sanitizers, etc. We address physical barriers and guides, how you address food services, at the event, the fact that you should not have any buffet service, and that most likely the food, if you're going to serve it, should be pre-packaged. So there are a number of issues that are dealt with in this document, and hopefully this document would be circulated widely so that all the event organizers, they should be quite clear as to the way forward, so that we can have a safe Christmas season, and we all can look forward to a new year with the vaccine around the corner, and hopefully within a few months we could be out of this crisis and be back to a near normal.
You're tuning to Win FM. It's 90.9. You just heard there from Dr. Cameron Wilkinson. He's the medical chief of staff of the Joseph N. France General Hospital, and speaking there at the recent briefing of the National Emergency Operations Center. We go to the phone lines. Call, you're on the air, and a very good afternoon to you.
Mr. Marcus, good day.
Yes, Mr. Montserrat, how are you doing today?
Not too bad now, but I was saying today one of the worst days with me.
What happened to you, man?
We get on before, but we just not hear you.
Oh, you were the person calling? Well, I picked up the phone twice, and we didn't hear anything at all. So I said, man, something must be wrong with the caller's phone. I'm glad you got through. So what's in your mind this afternoon, man?
Me say something else to you.
Okay, good.
My job, I have to find what them not tell you.
All right.
You get me?
Yeah.
Right. That's a my job. What them tell you that? Mr. Marcus, make some studies to do with you. I will start from next week.
All right, good.
So, till then now, we just want to just clear a couple things now that me hear from Win FM.
Sure.
And let me say good afternoon to all the listeners. And you find Aya, Mr. Marcus?
You will find
Aya.
No.
Me need to hear from Aya. Cause remember so long me tell you Aya come out to this fantasy world and get into the real world. Remember me tell you that so long, Mr. Marcus? I really want to find out from Aya if you not the real world yet. And me long for hear my sister voice. USA representing Connecticut Canary. Mr. Marcus, between Miss Henry and
Mr. McMahon
and Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I want a big debate, man.
Two of them argue two different points, eh? And nobody come to the agreement that them argue two different points. So let me explain that Miss Henry and Mr. McMahon, they can check themselves. Miss Henry more based on local investors and the bad experience about foreign investors. Mr. Mahan now are based on foreign investors because you need the foreign dollar to advance the economy, which in made to run along with Mr. Mahan idea, because Miss Henry idea, I like when you play Monopoly. You ever play Monopoly, Mr. Marcus?
I was never good at it.
Money, you never play them. Anyway, Monopoly is that you start one game with X amount of money. At the end of the game, all the money that you got, no increase. With inland investors, the money really even quicker go because just check everything, nearly everything that You got inland. It comes from outside. So if you're just going to deal with the inland investors, so far now the money over there, the gasoline, everything that you buy, the money go out. So what Mr. Marana say, you need people now to bring in money. Forget about the bad investment on them. You need foreign investment. And he's right, but Miss Henry, yes, inland investors, very good, because what happen now, it the people inland work, but the point about it, the economy will never advance. You know, just like a circulation, and then more go, and then none come in. You get that, Mr. Marcus?
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Right. So the two of them argue two different points, and none come to agreement. So, me just want to just change my little word. This or so.
Appreciate
my
it.
Little word.
I appreciate
Mr.
it.
Marcus, let me clear up one more quick thing.
Yes.
How much time you got there?
Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Okay. Right. Mr. Marcus, one day on Socrates show, my sister called in and said that in the middle of the Prime Minister, me do go in there some church, got talk about vaccine. Really and truly, me don't even know what she talk about, eh? Because me not hear the Prime Minister say nothing. Anyway, my cousin Jackie now call and attack my sister. Well, not attack no one, no funny way, but she back the Prime Minister, so she go back up the Prime Minister. Well, Socrates now agree. Well, only there when me come in now, because me come in now based in pan scriptures. You get the point, Mr. Baggers?
Yes.
Right, so me say now that then the place for the Prime Minister, me do that. He'd serve the Prime Minister much better to ask people for getting heart to God. They're the place